Part 55. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 559. The Nyoxing god of war has also accumulated energy at this moment. The black cut axe blade in his hand glowed red at some point. The extremely huge energy was compressed in this small area. If the area around several kilometers explodes, they will all turn into ashes. But the energy aftermath and impact caused by the explosion alone could not cause any damage to the third-generation gods like them, so concentrating on attacking one point became the best option. Nyoxing god of war held the axe behind him with one hand, and rushed towards the power of the divine river at a faster explosive speed than before. When he was still dozens of meters away, he jumped into the air dozens of meters away, holding the handle of the axe with both hands. He raised the black cutter high above his head and bent his body into an upside-down C-shape in mid-air. At this moment, the power of Kamigawa also raised the void sword in his hand. Visible to the naked eye, the edge of a large fan-shaped space starting from the void sword showed weak signs of distortion. This was due to the air dislocation caused by the inequality of gravity. As he waved his sword, this large fan-shaped space with abnormal gravity also swept towards the Nyoxing god of war in the sky. The Nyoxing god of war originally struck the head with the power of Kamigawa, but suddenly it seemed as if he was hit by something, and his body in mid-air was dragged and hit the ground on one side. The blow to Kamigawa's head hit the ground, and there was only a roar. A dazzling energy impact was like a sharp blade, starting from the position where the Nyoxing war god's battle axe fell, and cutting forward crazily. And it went until the end of sight with no sign of stopping. The power of Kamigawa took this opportunity to raise the void sword high and strike hard at the Nyoxing war god on the ground. The heavy pressure of more than hundreds of tons crushed the Nyoxing war god. This feeling was not pleasant. He was like a hot dog sandwiched between two sandwiches, being crushed to the ground by the heavy pressure. But after a while, after the Nyoxing god of war became familiar with the pressure, he slowly got up from the ground. Upon seeing this, the force of Kamigawa looked solemn, raised his sword fiercely and jumped, slashing the sword towards the head of Nyoxing war god, and at the same time shouted quiet. Nyoxing god of war originally had his axe raised and was accumulating energy to break the suppression of the power of Kamigawa. In his eyes, no matter what method the power of Kamigawa used, he only needed to use greater power to break it. But the sudden silence of the power of Kamigawa caused the Nyoxing god of war to lose control of the dark energy for a moment. The gathered dark energy lost control and turned into an impact and escaped towards the surroundings. When the Nyoxing god of war reacted, he only had time to block his head with a black cutter. As the void sword struck the black cutting axe heavily, there was a dull and loud bang. With the power of Nyoxing war god and Shenhe as the center, an area of tens of meters in radius sank several meters deep as if it had been trampled by something. Nyoxing war god was even hacked into the ground an unknown number of meters deep. After doing all this, the power of Kamigawa did not stop and directly started the preliminary calculation of the real void strike. Searching for targets to retrieve the lockable target Nyoxing war god, whether to lock it. Locked for final ruling. The power of Kamigawa directly issued instructions to its own genetic engine system. Before coming to Hungnong planet, the power of Kamigawa received instructions from the top management of Dexing. If possible, kill the god of war of Nyoxing, even if a war breaks out afterwards. Worth it too. The power of Kamigawa has reason to believe that the Nyoxing god of war should also have the same idea. The god-making civilization that has lost its main god can be wiped out because they have lost their strongest weapon. The composition of Nyoxing god of war and queen is being solving, 1%. Seeing this, Kamigawa's brows furrowed. The biggest shortcoming of the final judgment was that it required the target's divine body data. However, it was the first time that he and Nyoxing war god fought against each other today, and the resolution speed was slower than he expected. I don't know why, but there has been no movement since the Nyoxing god of war was hacked into the depths of the ground. However, the power of the divine river takes time, so he made no other moves. He just secretly increased his vigilance. When the progress of the final decision reached 50%, the ground suddenly exploded, and a figure jumped out of it. It was none other than the god of war No Star. It had a ferocious face and was holding a black cutter with a dazzling light axe blade. A circle of dark energy escaped like a solar prominence appeared around it, and the terrifying tide of dark energy radiated towards the surroundings. Then the Nyoxing war god volleyed down the black cutter in his hand in the direction of the power of Kamigawa. A bright and dazzling energy wave was struck out. As it continued to fly past, its size expanded to hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. The speed of this energy wave was very fast, and the power of Kamigawa was quite close to the Nyoxing god of war. As a result, by the time he saw the attack had already come in front of him, and the energy wave directly passed through Kamigawa, which he subconsciously dodged. Lee's shoulder passed by, and a dazzling light burst out. Finally, the energy wave that was still expanding sank into the ground and continued to cut forward, making bursts of rumbling sounds. A huge crack appeared on the ground leading to the horizon, like a gaping mouth of an abyss. When the Nyoxing god of war landed, he gasped heavily and exhaled steam like white mist from his mouth. Not only that, the surface of his body and armor were like heated steel, making a squeaking sound when in contact with the air. Seeing the power of Kamigawa half kneeling on the ground, with the hideous wound on his shoulder that was almost splitting him in half, Nyoxing war god couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly. It seems that the power of Kamigawa will become history from today on. Nyoxing war god dragged his battle axe and walked towards the power of Kamigawa, which seemed to have no resistance, and spoke excitedly, like an executioner preparing to execute a prisoner. That's not necessarily the case. Maybe you, the god of war, Nyoxing, will become history. There was no trace of panic in Kamigawa's tone. The hideous wound on his body had begun to repair quickly, but because it was too serious and there was a lot of energy remaining on the wound, it would take some time. And just when the power of Kamigawa and the god of war of Nyoxing said these two words, the ground shook violently and even started to move slightly. Although it was not obvious who was in this area, it was naturally possible to feel it. This subtle change. Nyoxing war god also realized that he had talked too much, so he mentioned the black cut and prepared to give the ending of the fall of the power of Kamigawa. Seeing the Nyoxing god of war making some moves, the power of Kamigawa looked at the final ruling that showed 60% of the solution. Without any further hesitation, he directly launched the final ruling. Final ruling initiated, target Nyoxing god of war, executed. The great sword of the void, which had fallen to the side of the power of Kamigawa because of the previous attack, suddenly stood up and flew into the sky at super high speed. Before Nyoxing war god could react, he felt that he was locked by something. The next moment, a terrifying giant sword that was magnified hundreds of times fell from the sky. The Nyoxing god of war was directly pressed into the ground by the tip of the final sword, and then a blue energy storm suddenly burst out and spread to the surroundings, and finally everything calmed down. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 560. In the end, the super warrior troops left by Dexing and Nyoxing on Hungnong planet broke into the battlefield before the two were separated, and took away the main god of their respective civilizations. This prevented a major event in which the main god fell. Although Dexing and Nyoxing did not make any announcement after the incident, Angel's intelligence ability still knew the injuries of Nyoxing god of war and the power of Kamigawa. The first is the power of Kamigawa. Due to his invincible body, his injuries are not serious, and he recovers quickly with sufficient energy supply. But the Nyoxing god of war was different. The last blow he received from the final ruling caused serious damage to the body of the Nyoxing god of war. Although it was not fatal, it still required repair and treatment by Nyoxing's scientific research department. The results of Binghua's battle evaluation of the Noxing god of war and the power of Kamigawa have also come out. Binghua is confident that he can defeat either of them in a one-on-one situation. One-on-two is a bit dangerous, mainly because the fighting styles of Kamigawa power and Noxing war god can complement each other. Noxing war god has a very strong frontal combat capability and has inherited the characteristics of Kamigawa war god. Its unlimited energy output combined with black cutting is a bit troublesome, because ordinary defense methods are useless in front of Noxing war god. As for the power of Kamigawa, its performance is remarkable. Its invincible body makes it extremely survivable in battles between gods. As long as it is not killed with one blow, it will quickly recover from injuries. The other is the evaluation of the final judgment. Because its principle is based on the void theory, the principle of its attack is unclear. From the information obtained, it takes time to activate, but as long as it is activated, it can cause horrific damage to the enemy regardless of defense. This can be analyzed from the fact that Noxing god of war has the strongest divine body among the three major god-making projects, but was still hit by a single blow to the extent that Noxing needed to be pulled back to repair it. In short, the three major gods of the Super Seminary are very successful. Any one of them is at the top level of the known universe. And judging from the current situation, this is not their peak, because in the original expectation of space, the three major anti-voids the god-making project needs to be fought in conjunction with the big clock. Turning off the projection screen, Binghua stood up from his seat and left his room to the deck in front of the Tianjian Bridge. At this time, the Heavenly Sword battleship is sailing in the known universe. Because it has to receive information from the Merlot Heavenly Court, it has not entered the jump navigation state. Moreover, it is still under the sphere of influence of the Liang star, so there is no angel civilization established. The Stargate is a fast navigation channel, so it will take a few days to travel until it leaves the star field. Binghua, why did you come to the deck alone? After Binghua stood for a while, Hexy's voice suddenly came. He looked around curiously, and finally said with a slight doubt. There's nothing to see here, is there? Sister Hexy. Binghua's helpless voice sounded. He-11 came out this time as if he had been staying in the scientific research department for a long time. He suddenly released his natural instinct and came to chat with her when he had nothing to do. This is just like when she was a student at Merlot College more than 10,000 years ago, she pestered He-11 asking questions every day. Sometimes Binghua even wondered if this was He-11's deliberate revenge. Okay, don't be so serious. I haven't been out for a long time. I finally came out and want to relax. Also, don't think too much about it. Some things can't be changed by just thinking about it, so sometimes, you should just let nature take its course. Maybe one day what you want will come true. He-11 walked up to Binghua and patted her shoulder gently, speaking out words of consolation with sincerity. He-11 didn't know how to evaluate her sister. Although Binghua was full of confidence in her eyes, she had never bowed down because of difficulties. But after settling down, she would sometimes think too much. She would worry about things that shouldn't be worried about, and worry even more about things that should be worried about. He-11 had also secretly advised Binghua to relax a little on this point many times, but to no avail. Binghua breathed a sigh of relief and didn't think about how to deal with Dino and the rising Sunday. This should be left to Kesha to deal with. Sister Hexy, you are right. Some things cannot be achieved by just thinking. I saw a lot of things during this trip to Liang. Although we angels are now the strongest civilization in the known universe, it does not mean that we will always be the same in the future. Therefore, we need to make some changes after we go back, otherwise sooner or later we will be overtaken by those chasing after us. Although Binghua's voice was calm, Hexy still heard the seriousness in it, and Hexy rolled his eyes at this. You just said you don't worry about it, but now you are thinking about all these things. According to me, we angels just need to be ourselves, no matter what Dino, Super Seminary, or the like. Binghua just smiled when she heard this. As an angel, she loves her race and civilization and hopes that it will always stand at the top of the universe. Therefore, she will think about how to deal with anything that may hinder this goal. Solve. Queen, Queen. Are you there? Suddenly, the communication angel of the Sky Sword battleship contacted Binghua. In confusion, Binghua asked directly, "What's going on?" "Queen, we found a distress signal. It's not far from our route. Do you want to go check it out?" Binghua thought for a moment that this place was on the border of the Liang civilization, and it shouldn't be a trap set by interstellar pirates and rogue civilizations who made a living by plundering resources, because the Liang people were not blind. "Come over, let's go take a look. If there's an interstellar disaster, we'll help." As soon as Binghua finished speaking, the communication angel's response spread through the communication. The next moment, the heavenly sword battleship that was originally sailing straight turned in one direction, and its speed suddenly increased. 601 days after the destruction of Lake Yasi, today people on the spacecraft had a conflict over food distribution, and 5 corpses were thrown out of the spacecraft. I don't understand why they are doing this. We are the last survivors of Lake Yasi. Why do we still hurt each other? On the 650th day, the food distributed is getting less and less, but we are still far away from finding a planet suitable for life. Today the captain announced a very desperate news to us. The energy of the spacecraft is not enough. Soon the ark that carries us to escape destruction will turn into a cold metal coffin, and we will die quietly inside. The rescue signal has been sent, but all passengers on the ship know that the chance of rescue is slim because the universe is too big. I hope that the Sun people will not find us in the end. Rather than being found by them, I would rather be buried in the universe. I can't forget what they did to us Laxia, and if possible I want to take up arms to avenge my parents and kill all the Sun people I see. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 561. On the 6051st day, everyone on the ship was scattered in various corners eating the food allocated by the quota. I only saw one person walking by at the end of the day. On the 6052nd day, I had less and less food left. Apart from recording, I tried to stay as still as possible to reduce energy consumption. Chapter 6053, the gravity system was shut down due to lack of energy, and the entire spacecraft fell into a weightless state. It was very inconvenient, but I was content to be able to continue to live. Day 6054, the distress signal has been sent for 5 days, but there is still no spacecraft approaching us. When I was doing nothing, I remembered that my mother once told me the story of angels when she was still alive. In the story, angels are the defenders of justice in the universe. They combine beauty, kindness, and all the good qualities in the world. They protect the weak in the universe, drive away evil, establish a righteous order, and maintain a stable life for the weak in the known universe. This is really a creature that only exists in fairy tales. I don't believe the story my mother told me at all, because until the last moment when Laxia was destroyed, my mother was still praying to the angel, but the angel did not respond to his expectations. On the 655th day, I struggled to move closer to the observation window and looked at the twinkling stars in the dark universe. I missed my mother, father, and my friends a little. On the 656th day, the few food I had was robbed, but I had expected it and hid a little. This was enough for me to survive for a few more days. On the 657th day, the people in the boat had no scruples for food. They pointed weapons at their compatriots who shared will and woe. I can't believe that these are still Laxians. On the 658th day, there were fewer and fewer Laxians in the boat, but the lack of food did not get better. Day 659, 10 days have passed. The engine of the spacecraft has stalled, and the captain seems to have been killed because he failed to fulfill his promise to lead everyone to find a survivable planet. On the 660th day, I no longer have any hope that anyone can come to save us. I just hope that I can live longer. After all, this is my mother's last request to me. On the 661st day, the food I had hidden was discovered. I was severely beaten by the people who took away my food. I did not resist because there were many of them and I could not beat them. Day 662, today I remembered my dream when I was a child. At that time, I wanted to become a super soldier because I was very handsome, but when I grew up, I found it difficult, so I gave up. But if I become a super soldier, mere hunger will not be a problem to me at all. I heard that super soldiers can rely on light energy to survive. On the 6063rd day, look at the stars, because I can't think of anything else to do. Day 664, continue to look at the stars. Day 665, look at the starry sky. On the 668th day, I felt like I couldn't hold on any longer. My eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. I was very sleepy and wanted to sleep. What is that? Spaceship. A spaceship is coming. Golden, what a beautiful spaceship. A man with wings. It actually flew over directly. It's an angel. Turns out to be an angel. They actually exist. It really exists. Sorry, Mother, you are right, you have always been right. Queen, this transport ship had stopped working for a while when we entered. Many people on board died due to lack of oxygen, and only a few survivors were found. A female angel Hui reported that Binghua was silent for a while. The mere lack of oxygen could actually make a whole boat of people almost die. Binghua, who has been away from the concept of mortals for a long time, has almost forgotten that humans under the ordinary Kamigawa system still need oxygen and breathing. Arrange treatment for them, and check to see if they are from that civilization. If it is nearby, we will send them directly to the nearest living planet. As soon as Binghua finished his instructions, the female angel replied. Queen, they are Laxians. Lakshya, that's it? When Binghua heard Laxia's name, she also knew why the female angel under her command did not continue talking. Laxia was destroyed by the fierce sun star 2 years ago. That battle Emperor Hunkin chose to do it himself. The Laxia people were under the wrath of the sun god, and there were almost no survivors. This is also one of the few star-destroying events in the known universe today. However, because the place where it occurred is not within the scope of the angel's order of justice, the angel only expressed strong dissatisfaction with this behavior of the Liang star along with other civilizations. Liang star also gained a reputation due to several wars 2 years ago, so it did not engage in large-scale wars and settled down. As a result, there was no follow-up to Laxia's incident. This is the current situation of ordinary civilizations in the known universe without the protection of the angelic justice order. Advanced civilizations can impose punishments and sanctions on ordinary civilizations at will. If ordinary civilizations want to survive, they can only join the alliance or system established by advanced civilizations. But unfortunately in the Tiandao galaxy, the Sun civilization is the only one, and the Islanders and Thunderblade stars can only protect themselves and are unable to do so. Limit the Sun civilization. After a while, the few surviving Laxians woke up. They thanked the angel 1,000 times and became his followers on the spot. There was only one young man who was an exception. He did not worship the angels as gods like his compatriots. Although he thanked Binghua and the angels for saving him, other than that, this young man made other suggestions. Require. You want to become a vassal of an angel. Binghua looked with interest at the young man named Shun Yuan below, who looked serious and stared at her firmly. Lord Angel. I know my request is too much. After all, it was you who saved me. If it weren't for you, I would be dead now. But I need strength, even if I give everything I have, I won't hesitate. Binghua admired Shen Yuan's eyes and his consciousness in saying these words, because the moment he said these words, Shen Yuan had already abandoned the new life he had finally gained. Unfortunately, I can't promise you that our angel's technology is only suitable for us angels. You are a Laxian. Even if you accept angel genes, you will not be able to achieve your goals. Shen Yuan's expression changed, but Binghua turned around and continued. But there is a place that is suitable for you. Whether you can achieve your goal depends on your ability. Lord Angel, where is this place? Shen Yuan's eyes lit up. He didn't think that a powerful angel would lie to an ordinary person like him. Nyo Sing, although that's not a good place, it's the only place I know that doesn't look at your origin, but only your abilities. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to gain the power of a god. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 562. Noxing. Are they as powerful as the Liang civilization? Seeing Shen Yuan's focus on this, Binghua chuckled and began to tell him some basic information about Nyoxing. Nyoxing, Liang, and Dexing are jointly listed as the three major god-making civilizations under the Kamigawa system. Apart from our angels and Dexing, there are only a few existences in the known universe that can compete with Liang. So instead of worrying about whether Nyoxing is strong enough, you might as well think about whether you can gain a foothold in Nyoxing with your own abilities. Shen Yuan didn't say anything else, he knelt down and saluted directly, thanked Binghua for his kindness, and did not continue to ask anything about this. After genocide and 2 years of escaping on the spaceship, Shen Yuan saw some things very clearly. No one would help him for no reason. Although angels are more merciful than people from the sun, they are like messengers of justice, but messengers of justice do not care too much about the future of the people they save. Although he didn't know why this high-status angel recommended him to go to Nyoxing, he must have some agenda, but it didn't matter. Because Shen Yuan just wants to gain strength, to be able to compete with the power of the Liang, so that the people of the Liang can also taste the pain of the Laxians. Watching Shen Yuan leave under the leadership of the female angel, Binghua did not leave his seat. This was a casual move, and Binghua also had a sudden idea. But she was still tainted with conspiracy and power, Binghua sighed, but the increasingly complex situation in the known universe forced her to prepare early. Because with the development of the righteous order, the angels have established more and more enemies. Now they surrender under the force of the angel civilization, but maybe one day the Merlot heavenly court will be in decline, they will rise up to resist. When the time comes that the angelic civilization loses the advantage of force, the end will never be good. The best ending is to live alone, and the worst end is to be directly exterminated. There is a colony of aerospace civilization near the Queen. Should we put down the Laxians on the Sky Sword? After the female angel who took Shen Yuan away came back, she reported to Binghua. Except for the boy you just took away, let the other Laxians leave the ship on that planet. But remember to communicate with that civilization. After all, we angels saved the people, and I don't want them to be made things difficult for them after we leave. In addition, give the young man a full body examination, make him a universal super soldier, and get his identity information. Also, we will change our route and go to Noxing. After Binghua arranged for the surviving Laxians on the spacecraft, he turned to the female angel who temporarily handled the chores for him. Universal enhanced transformation of super warriors is a technology that almost all god-making civilizations have. It is to transform ordinary Kamigawa creatures with cosmic adaptability, strengthen their physical fitness, and repair some physical defects. Although the angels have no need for it, they have technical reserves in this area. In addition, the Tianjian battleship is equipped with a treatment cabin, so it is not a problem to transform it into a general-purpose super soldier. Nyoxing is a planet with the same civilization as Dexing in the known universe. It is different from the orderly and stable social structure of Dexing. The first impression that Nyoxing gives people is tolerance and freedom. You can see many civilized style buildings in Nyoxing, and it is not uncommon to see mixed races. This is related to Nyoxing's belief in ability first. In the alliance system dominated by Nyoxing civilization, many capable people from the civilization will go to Nyoxing for development. This is one of the reasons why Nyoxing can suppress Dexing. Binghua's arrival did not notify the official staff of Nyoxing, and it was all handled by his angels who brought Shunyuan to Nyoxing and solved the problem of his identity. Shunyuan's new identity is very simple. He is an interstellar traveler from an advanced aerospace civilization of the Order of Justice. Because his spaceship crashed and was discovered by a passing angel battleship, he was taken to the nearest advanced civilization, Nox. With his clean identity and general strengthened physique of a super soldier, Shunyuan can easily gain a foothold in Nyoxing. If he is lucky and gets some opportunities and appreciation, then in the current arms race between Nyoxing and Dexing under such circumstances, it is not difficult to achieve something. After all, this is just a casual move by Binghua. At this point, Binghua will no longer interfere with Shunyuan's affairs. In the future, whether Shunyuan can gain strength and take revenge all depends on his own ability. After sending Shunyuan to Noxing, Binghua and Hexie's journey back to Merlot Heaven went smoothly. I haven't been back for several years, and I feel a sense of nostalgia in my heart. Binghua, do you think I should continue to hang around outside for a while? After he 11 just got off the heavenly sword and stretched, he turned his head slightly and said to Binghua beside him with emotion. I don't know whether you miss her or not. I only know that if we don't come back, Sister Kesha will go looking for us. Binghua said calmly, and then walked directly through Tiangang towards the interior of Merlot Heavenly Court. He 11 shrugged slightly and followed Binghua's footsteps into the Merlot Heavenly Palace. You two threw a lot of things at me, then wandered out and didn't come back for several years. You really don't take me, the King of Angels, seriously. Kesha, who was wearing a gorgeous white dress, was sitting in her seat, flipping through the information while casually accusing Binghua and Hexie of their unjust behavior. Hee, aren't you, as the King of Angels, more capable than us little angels? As the saying goes, those who are capable work hard, right? The relationship between Hexie and Kesha is closer than that between Binghua and Kesha, so he also joked and ran to Kesha's side to give her a shoulder massage while talking. Sister Kesha, we won't gain anything when we go out this time. Liang's microstar drive technology just fits one of my ideas. If completed, the strength of our Angel Legion can be further strengthened. Hexie was a little confused after hearing this. Why didn't she know about this? Compared to being close to Hexie, what Binghua said attracted Kesha's attention more, because with the cooperation between Super Seminary and Dino Liang, the Angel's influence there was restricted. Let me tell you, if it can really greatly improve the strength of our angels, I will forgive you for leaving me alone in the Merlot Heaven and running away for a vacation. Understanding that Kesha was teasing, Binghua didn't care and said directly. Microstar drive technology, to put it clearly, is micronuclear fusion. Using the weapon engine of the flaming sword and accumulating energy in outer space, the computing power of 3 generations of angels can be used to use microstar drive technology to create microcores that are powerful enough to destroy the surface of hundreds or even tens of kilometers of planets. Fusion bombing. This makes up for our angels' shortcomings in wide area attacks. In the future, some low-level or ordinary civilizations will pose no threat to our angels. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 563. After listening to Binghua's story, Kesha fell into deep thought. The attack methods of the angel civilization were single in the known universe, but they were powerful enough. Whether it is flame bombing or sky blade judgment, its core is based on dark energy, which is used to destroy some solid alloys and enemies with divine bodies and strengthened by super warriors. Among them, Sky Blade Judgment is the most powerful. While it has wide area destructive capabilities, it can also cause great damage to the super genes of super soldiers. But the Sky Blade Judgment still cannot cover and destroy dozens or hundreds of kilometers, so the Angels have the Sky Sword as a fire support unit to destroy some enemy defense facilities. If what Binghua said can be realized, then the fire support battleship Tianjian can be declared retired, or it can be used as a pure transport ship. Binghua, if it's possible, I'll leave this research project to you. Binghua nodded in agreement, while Hexi beside him was a little unhappy. Queen Kesha, I am the Chief Scientific Research Officer of Angels. Don't I have any research tasks? Kesha chuckled and raised her head slightly to look at He-11's side face behind her. Do you think your task is easy? Invincible body? Fourth generation divine body? God-killing martial engine? Kesha said a lot of nouns, and the more Hexi said it, the paler his face became. Finally, Kesha said, whenever you get these things out, tell me this. Hexi left Kesha's side palely and came to Binghua's side, covering his heart and saying, I feel like I won't have time to go out in the next 10,000 years. Facing Hexi's deliberate antics, Binghua and Kesha couldn't help but chuckle at the same time. After leaving Kesha's office, Binghua took over the responsibilities of the Holy Left Wing and was responsible for all military maneuvers of the Angels under normal circumstances. In addition, he also added a research topic called the Great Trial. The Great Judgment is the name of the wide-area destructive weapon with microstar drive as the core that Kesha, Binghua and Hexi will study next for Bingtian. As the name suggests, the power of the Great Judgment can theoretically be compared to that of the stars in the universe, so the name of the Great Judgment is worthy of its name. The Dino galaxy has been quiet for a period of time since the last two major god-making projects caused losses to both sides. However, during this period, the Nyo Star Sharp Saber and the D-Star Advanced Soldier both showed results. Nyoxing has formed the Nyoxing Sharp Knife Combat Group, and plans to spend 10 years completing the formation and recruiting members. Dexing has also established a garrison regiment, mainly composed of Dexing Vanguard soldiers, and the commander of the regiment is the Dexing Spear. The Angels under Binghua reported to her that the young man named Shun Yuan she rescued a few years ago joined the Nyoxing army. Because of his excellent qualities and bravery in combat, he has now entered the Nyoxing Sharp Sword God-making Corps project. Binghua felt a little regretful after hearing this. She had learned about the Nyoxing Sharp Knife. It was a super gene developed by Nyoxing's mass-produced god-making project. If it did not cost a lot to develop the follow-up, its upper limit would be 3 generations of super warriors. Although he is known as a demigod in the known universe, it is still a bit far away from Shen Yuan's goal, the Liang civilization. However, Binghua didn't have much expectations for him, because Shun Yuan was not a native of Nyoxing, nor was he a descendant of the military nobles of Nyoxing. It was sheer fantasy to get involved in the 3 major god-making projects. Being able to join the Nyoxing Blade Force is probably his upper limit. I hope he can achieve something in the future. This is Binghua's blessing to this ill-fated young man. Dino has not stopped developing other civilizations in the known universe. The Thunderblade stars have restarted their plan to transform warriors, and the god-killing weapon Sky developed by the S-Lands has been successful. The Liang civilization began to build its own supercomputing Tiandao Tower, and at the same time began the preliminary construction work of the celestial battleship Yongxiao Tianting. A few more years passed, and Binghua's Grand Trial research project was successful, and the weapon engines of the Angel civilization began to be upgraded. This news attracted the attention of a large number of advanced civilizations in the known universe. After all, Angels are at the forefront of the known universe, and their every move will affect the situation in the universe. After that, something happened at the Super Seminary that Binghua was concerned about. Carl actually left the super seminary and ran to a star field near the edge of the galaxy. It is full of uncivilized or beast-like civilizations that are still in the pre-nuclear era, and it is very desolate. Very few civilizations visit that barren star field. Principal Space also disappeared after that. After careful investigation by Binghua, Principal Space had not appeared in public for more than 10 years. This is unreasonable for the space principal who is committed to promoting the theory of void fear, because the space principal wishes that the entire universe would believe in his theory of void fear, so as to carry out research to combat the fear of the void, instead of working on how to kill the common front like now. God worked hard. Just when the angels were obsessed with building their own order of justice, gradually solving internal unstable factors, and wiping out those wandering interstellar pirates and rogue civilizations, something happened that made the angel civilization once again become the center of the topic in the universe. Queen, the thing is like this. One of our angels who returned to Merlo heaven after completing his mission was detained by the main god of the Comorn civilization during the flight. Binghua frowned upon hearing this and continued to ask for more details. Why are our soldiers being held hostage? The female angel who came to report hesitated for a moment before telling the reason. It turns out that the main god of the Comorn civilization saw an angel on a mission when he was out. He was astonished and fascinated by it. Regardless of the opposition within his civilization, he proposed to the angel warrior, but the angel warrior was not interested in the main god of Comorn, so he refused. However, the main god of Comorn persisted in stalking him, and finally even imprisoned the angel warrior. However, Comorn did not know the power of the angel intelligence system. Almost less than an hour after he detained the angel warrior, MaleProtagonist learned the general situation. After Binghua heard the cause and effect of the incident, his dark eyes narrowed slightly and he spoke softly. It seems that we angels have been silent for too long, and some unworthy guys dare to bully us. Binghua stood up from his seat and walked outside. At the same time, he gave instructions to the female angel who followed him and was part of the newly formed intelligence system. Ask Shangran and Haikawi to go to the planet Como-en with me. I want to talk to these new gods in person. After saying that, Binghua walked out of the palace and spread her wings directly to fly to the docking place of her flagship. This time she went out not to sit down and talk with others, but to step on the Como benefactor and make him lie down. Let's talk about the serious problem of provoking angelic civilization on the ground and how to solve it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 564. Como and Star. Como's Lord God looked through the energy barrier at the beautiful angel inside who combined beauty, nobility, and intelligence into one, and his eyes couldn't help but become infatuated. However, these scorching eyes were not very friendly to the female angel warrior inside. Mokten, I advise you to let me go, so that when Merlo Heaven finds out, you won't be unable to end it. Yu Qing frowned and tried to persuade her. At the same time, her eyes scanned the surroundings, looking for a way out of the situation. Yu Qing, I am the chief god of civilization in Comorn, on the same level as your Queen Kesha. I just like you and want to be with you. I don't believe that based on this alone, your Queen Kesha will send an army of angels to attack our civilization of Comorn. Yu Qing wanted to say that Mokten, you are sitting in a well and looking at the sky, but she had said this many times before, and it had no effect at all. If the flaming sword hadn't been snatched away by the opponent, she could have easily destroyed the facilities here. Even with her bare hands, she was confident of getting out. However, Mokten was very cautious and never left here. However, Mokten did not dare to use force against Yu Qing, because the super warriors of the angel civilization all had last-ditch moves, and if they were not careful, they might be dragged along to the funeral. Report to the Lord God, God, the holy left wing of the angelic civilization is here, and is now in the outer space of the planet. Let you go to see her, otherwise your divine domain will be destroyed. A soldier in armor ran in a panic and reported in horror. It's not that this soldier is timid, but that golden battleship hanging in the sky is too terrifying. It appears suddenly and cannot be scanned by any detection equipment on Comorn. Its shadow covers most of it. Urban area. Moktun's expression turned cold after hearing this, and without even looking at the panicked soldiers, he said to Yu Qing, "I'll come see you later," and left the room. Yu Qing's heart was filled with excitement, because after listening to the soldier's description just now, the Holy Left Wing actually led the team to save him. Looking at the Skyblade battleship that covered the sky, Moktun's face had never looked ugly. Before he could continue to look, a voice came from above his head. "You are the one who dares to imprison the angels of our angelic civilization." Hizui looked down at Moktun and said with contempt. At the same time, his height dropped slightly until he fell to the ground. "You angels are so arrogant. I just asked Miss Yu Qing to stay in Como and for a while, and you angels came to knock on my door." Moktun's tone was a little emboldened due to the appearance of the Skyblade, but he still defended forcefully. Hichui's response was extremely simple, just the word he. Then he flapped his white wings and his body gradually floated into the air. When he was 2 or 3 meters away from the ground, he leaned forward and dived directly towards Moktun. "Since you don't admit it, I have no choice but to fulfill the order of the Holy Left Wing and take you to the Skyblade to confess your sin." Moktun also reacted very quickly. He took out his own weapon, a halberd, and blocked Hichui's swooping attack at the critical moment. With a loud sound, a circle of air waves exploded, shattering the fragile decorations on the surface of the surrounding buildings, and continued to sweep around with unabated force. Moktun, who was under attack, was pushed by Hichui and crashed through 3 buildings before he escaped the attack and fell to the ground. "A little bit, but it still doesn't disgrace God's name." Hizui did not continue to attack, but commented on Moktun's response just now. His tone was very relaxed, and he did not feel dignified or nervous at all because his opponent was a war god. This made Moktun's face below him even more ugly, because he didn't have the slightest advantage in the confrontation just now. You must know that the angel in front of him is not Kesha, the main god of angel civilization, but just a person with a status below the Holy Left Wing. A battle angel. Who are you? If you can compete with me, the main god of civilization, your status among angels is not low, right? Moktun started to talk, but Hizui lost the temper to continue chatting, because in his eyes, the war god was too weak, and his fighting consciousness was pitifully low. He raised the broad-bladed silver sword in his hand, and a thin streak of red energy filled the sword, and then Hichui swooped down again. This time, Moktun did not block Hexi's attack, but cleverly dodged. Then dark energy appeared on the halberd in Moktun's hand, pointing at Hexi, who flew out in an arc. He saw an energy bullet in the middle of the hollow spearhead in front of the halberd in his hand successfully condensed in the raging energy flow, and then shot towards Heikawi like a cannonball. Hizui looked a little disdainful when he saw this. The spherical energy attack is the least technical among energy attacks of the same level. Because the target is small and the trajectory changes little, it is very easy to avoid. Hizui just made a few evasive movements in the air and avoided the energy balls that were fired from him. However, these energy balls that failed to hit the target fell into the city and immediately turned into billowing miniature mushroom clouds. Large areas of buildings collapsed in the explosion, and the shock wave swept across everything around them. The originally orderly city became extremely chaotic in a moment, with burning fires everywhere, all because of the destruction caused by the battle between the 2 war gods. Boom! Large pieces of building debris and soil were thrown up from the ground. After a circle, the crane swooped down and attacked Moktun again, knocking it back hundreds of meters. Its feet plowed 2 long paths on the ground. Gully. The silver broad-blade sword in Hichui's hand struck the barrel of the weapon in Mokutan's hand, bursting out with dazzling energy fireworks. Little spark-like energy light spots floated across Hichui's cheeks, but they could not make her shake at all. Hichui was not surprised to see Mokutan blocking his attack, because the opponent was also a battle god under the Kamigawa system. If he couldn't even block his own attack, then Kamigawa's god-making technology would become too much. Water. But so what if he blocked it? The next moment, Hichui used his arms to push Mokutan back slightly, and then struck several quick blows with the sword in his hand. Mokutan had no power to fight back and could only barely parry. After blocking Heikoi's swordsmanship, Mokutan felt happy when he saw Heikoi actually taking the initiative to distance himself. But what happened immediately made his heart freeze. Hizui raised the broad-blade silver sword in his hand above his head, and red light burst out from the sword body, as if it was covered with a burning coat. Broken blade. The next moment, there was a flash of red arc light in the air. The moment the halberd in Mokutan's hand touched it, the dark energy remaining in the internal structure and the dark energy running with a special algorithm on Heikoi's weapon were revealed. Resonance was achieved, directly destroying the internal structure of the halberd, causing Mokutan's weapon to be broken into two pieces on the spot. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 565. Mokutan only felt a coldness in his chest, followed by severe pain and extreme burning, as if there was a flame burning in his chest. However, this severe pain was soon accompanied by the gene engine isolating the sensation near the wound, thus disappearing. But even so, because the divine body was split open by Hizui's sword, a large amount of external dark energy filled with destructive instructions also caused heavy damage to Mokutan's divine body. He chased Mokutan relentlessly, knocking Mokutan, who was taller than her, to the ground with a knee strike. The wrist holding the sword flipped, and the sword tip sank into Mokutan's abdomen. The sharp pain suddenly made Mokutan scream again. Although the pain disappeared soon, no one could remain indifferent to the sight of a sharp blade with red light stuck in his abdomen. Well, now you can cooperate honestly. Follow me to see the holy left wing. After saying that, Hizui reached out and grabbed Mokutan's collar, flapped his wings and dragged Mokutan towards the Skyblade battleship hanging in the sky. Seeing that their main god was defeated and captured, the Comorn civilization did not do anything and sent out more than a dozen small and medium-sized warships for combat in the atmosphere. But as the spear of light turret hidden on the Skyblade unfolded, dozens of spear-shaped rays of light burst out. The warships that Comorn came to support their lord god seemed to be easily penetrated by paper. After a few breaths, Comorn civilization the top brass received the news that the entire army had been wiped out. The man was brought here for you, but because he refused to cooperate, he might have been a little rough. Hizui carried Mokutan into the hall and threw it on the ground. He clapped his hands and walked to the side of the hall to stand. Binghua, who was sitting on the high throne, watched Mokutan climb up twice before standing up. The beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly. Mokutan, that's your name. Mokutan stood up despite the feeling of weakness all over his body, and looked up at the female angel who asked casually. She was a more powerful being than the silver-haired angel who defeated her before, and one of the sacred wings of the angel civilization. I am Mokutan, the main god of the Comorn civilization. Binghua nodded and spoke again. That's right. You imprisoned an angel warrior from our angel civilization. Do you know that this violates the law of justice and order? According to the law of justice and order, angel civilization has the right to punish and judge any person or other creature who harms angels or behaves disrespectfully towards angels. I don't know if you know the crime or not. Mokutan held his head high and retorted. This is not within the coverage of your angel's order of justice. This is the location of the branch of the Super Seminary. I am also one of the many god-making projects affiliated with the Super Seminary. If I fall into the hands of your angels, other gods will never let you angels go. The other angels present couldn't help but frown when they heard this. Didn't this one know that people have to bow their heads under the eaves? They were all beaten like this, and even uttered wild words to threaten the holy left wing. Binghua was not annoyed at all when he heard this, because he had long investigated that the super seminary was building branches wantonly and advocating some advanced aerospace civilizations to carry out God-making movements, and the results of these God-making civilizations were a generation that lacked functionality like Mokten. God. Under the banner of the super seminary, these nondescript gods have actually formed an alliance and become another force that cannot be ignored under the leadership of Dexing, Nyoxing, Liang, and the super seminary. And judging from how Mokten dared to imprison angels this time, this so-called alliance of gods seems to be quite arrogant, and it doesn't even look down on angels. This time, Binghua personally came here not only to rescue the imprisoned angels, but also to teach the so-called alliance of gods an unforgettable lesson, letting them know that angels are not something they can mess with. It seems that the alliance of gods has given you a lot of confidence, but you seem to have forgotten that the initial collaborator of the super seminary was our angel civilization. Later, the angels also terminated their cooperation with the super seminary and expelled them from Merlo heaven. And you so-called gods, in my eyes, are just a bunch of frogs in a well who don't know the heights of the world. You dare to imprison us angels without considering your own abilities. If I don't kill you today, everyone will be like you in the future, and we angels won't have to defend the justice of the universe. We will just have to deal with you guys who don't know the heights of heaven and earth every day. Binghua's voice became colder and colder, and Mokten gradually felt a chill that penetrated his bones, but he still threatened. I have sent a message for help to other gods, and they will arrive on the planet Comorn soon. If I fall, they will never let you angels go. Quano. A flaming sword appeared beside Binghua. The next moment the blade turned red, and then it shot out into a red light and penetrated Mokten's chest. Mokten looked at the flaming sword that penetrated his chest and wanted to reach out to pull it out, but before he could hold the hilt, the red cracks spread to his entire chest, and finally he fell to the ground weakly. To be honest, Binghua didn't want to kill Mokten directly, but because he didn't know how to advance or retreat, Binghua lost his patience. Fortunately, he killed him directly, which is a typical example of killing a chicken to scare the monkeys. Several small spaceships of different styles appeared near the planet Comorn, and a communication channel was quickly established. Mokten asked us to come to the factory, but we are already here. Why doesn't he come to greet us? I heard that he fell in love with an angel and imprisoned her. As a result, he recruited the Holy Left Wing. Holy Left Wing, that's not something to be trifled with. Angels are existences comparable to the Dinos. We might as well not wade into this muddy water. Why are you afraid? We all signed the alliance agreement. Do you want to withdraw from the alliance of gods? Who said I was quitting? I just think we should be cautious. This god from an advanced aerospace civilization was more cautious, but he became anxious after hearing these words. Stop arguing, we have 8 gods here, and the angel came with a holy left wing. What are you afraid of? Can she beat 8 of us by herself? That's right. They are both gods. There are many people here. I don't believe that we can't hum her together. Having said that, these main gods from various advanced aerospace or elementary god-making civilizations finally stopped leaving ink marks and rushed towards the planet Comorn together. After arriving at Comorn and Moktern's residence, they looked at the ruins in the city and looked at each other. It seems we're late. Go to Moktern's place and have a look. There are also gods who are relieved that they don't have to face angels. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 566. But when these main gods entered the grand palace hall of Mokten, which was like a temple, these main gods all stopped because the scene in front of them was too impactful. At the end of the hall, near the wall, on a large alloy seat covered with a layer of plush, A female angel figure was sitting there with her legs crossed, flipping through the metal-covered books spread out in her arms. The hair is spread freely on the chest and stomach like a waterfall. On the left and right of this female angel are two female angels with sharp eyes and one silver and one gold hair color. These are the most surprising to the gods as to why the angels appear here. But the figure lying on the ground not far away with a sword stuck in his chest could be someone other than Mokten. You actually killed Mokten. A civilized god wearing gorgeous gray armor and a helmet spoke out, his tone full of disbelief. Why can't you kill him? Tell me. Binghua closed the book in her arms and threw it into the wormhole. She lowered her folded legs and looked at the 8 main gods from various civilizations with expressions that were either surprised, angry or solemn. Mokten is a god, how can you kill him at will? This is a god dressed in silver and black gorgeous clothes, and he is the most surprised one here. What you said is very interesting. Do I have to invite everyone present before I kill him, and then ask you if you agree with me killing him? You. This god was speechless, but there were some who were relatively calm. It seems that you are the holy left wing of the angel civilization. We have learned a lesson from the angel civilization's behavior today. This was the only one among the gods present who had a military temperament. After saying this, he planned to leave, because the protagonist who was the center of the incident was gone, and it was meaningless for them to continue here. It is not wise to confront the angelic civilization for the sake of a fallen main god. However, just this main god thinks this way, which does not mean that other main gods think so. There are always guys who see that their side has the numerical advantage and want to show off the angel civilization. We are a member of the alliance of gods along with Mokten. Now that Mokten has been killed by an angel, do you want to walk away? Why do you want to avenge him? If we don't avenge Mokten, the alliance of gods will exist in name only after today. Do you want the known universe to regard our alliance as a laughing stock? And I have just sent a message to the other members of the alliance. The remaining 7 are already rushing here. I don't believe that the angels can handle the 15 main gods. Seeing that these civilized gods had been arguing for a long time without any consensus on whether to fight or retreat, Binghua stood up directly. Hizui and Ran opened their mouths, but were interrupted by Binghua. Don't do anything, just leave them to me to take care of them, just in time for some exercise. Binghua took a few steps forward and stretched out his hand. A silver heavy sword flew forward from the wormhole opened by his hand, and he grabbed the hilt of the sword. You can't choose, so I'll choose for you. Seeing Binghua carrying out the weapons, the main gods present did not discuss it. They all knew that the matter could not be resolved, and they all moved or took down the weapons from behind. Even if these main gods don't want to fight this battle, Binghua will force them to fight, because only in this way will the angel civilization become invincible and unprovoked in the eyes of these civilizations. Otherwise, if there is an attack or injury against angels every 3 days, sooner or later the prestige of angel civilization will be ruined. I saw a blurry after-image passing through the air and arriving in front of the 8 Lord Gods. It was none other than Binghua. The Silver King sword drew a half-arc in the air and struck one of the Lord Gods across the head like a battle axe. On the weapon that is blocked above the head. Clang! The main god was directly smashed into the floor by Binghua's sword. The huge vibration made the entire palace tremble several times, and several cracks appeared in the dome. The other main gods also reacted at this moment. Seeing that their companions were instantly killed with one strike, they ignored their horror and raised their weapons to greet Binghua. Avoiding the spear that was swept away, Binghua took a step forward without using his sword. He made a fist with his left hand and directly knocked away a main god blocking the way. He crashed through the thick wall and fell outside. Then the other main gods around Binghua were also punched into the wall by Binghua with his sword, legs, and fists, sank into the floor, or simply crashed through the wall and fell outside. Looking at the Lord God lying on the ground around him, Binghua raised his left hand slightly and said in a very contemptuous tone. I really don't know where your confidence came from. You can't even defeat the holy left wing of an angel like me. What makes you think that you can still be safe after provoking the angelic civilization? You bitch, don't be proud. We were just careless. The main god closest to Binghua finally crawled out from under the floor. The long sword in his hand suddenly separated from the middle part to both sides, and then blue energy spurted out and turned into a long energy whip. Binghua's figure turned slightly to one side and easily avoided the energy whip that was coming. Although the Lord God tried very hard to wave the energy whip in his hand, in addition to leaving traces of burning marks on the floor, not even touching Binghua. Binghua threw the king's sword in his hand in one direction. The sharpness of the Ansu silver weapon was comparable to that of ordinary alloy weapons. The Lord God looked at the sword in his hand in disbelief, and then looked at the one that had sunk into his chest. Silver épée. But Binghua didn't pay attention to that side. He stretched out his hand and pulled out the tooth-like Chaiwan from the void, and swung it towards the main god who used the energy whip. The Lord God didn't pay much attention when he saw Binghua changing his weapon. After all, the distance was still so far, but who knew that the next moment he would be confused by Chaiwan's sword extending for more than 10 meters. The sword blade, which was like tooth pressure, cut across his face at high speed, leaving his face bloody, and his whole body rolled and flew out. Binghua took a few steps forward, made a sudden movement, and then stabbed Chaiwan's sword god into the ground in front of him. The next moment, the entire palace was shattered into pieces by a huge shock wave. Suddenly, the originally magnificent palace the group became a ruin. If you can't defeat melee combat, use long-range bombing instead. The response is quite fast. Binghua waved her palms to fan away the incoming dust. Except for the small patch of ground where she was standing, it remained flat, while the rest of the surrounding ground had rolled over. Moktan's divine palace was reduced to ruins. Fortunately, the Komao people had quickly evacuated the city when the angel came. Otherwise, tens of thousands of people would have been killed just by the explosion. In it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 567. In a battle between gods, the physical body alone cannot cause much horrific damage. After all, the size is there. Even if your strength is measured in kilotons, one punch can destroy at most a small area of 30 meters near the punch, or simply penetrate the target. Energy bombing can be carried out, or a certain driving algorithm can be launched, and the damage caused will increase geometrically. This is why the god-making civilization claims that the main god is immortal and the civilization is immortal. Even if you wipe out all the armies of the god-making civilization, as long as their main god does not fall, you can still cause extremely huge damage. If you are not careful, the advantages established will be wiped out. At this time, I don't know which civilized god launched the energy bombing. Binghua was fine, but the city suffered. The large ruins originally caused by the battle between Haikawi and Moktan were now dwarfed by the bombing that wiped out Moktan's palace. But even such a serious explosion could not kill any of the civilized gods present who were within the affected area. At most, some unlucky ones suffered some losses. You can't say hello before you take action, we are all there. If I hadn't taken action, you might have been killed by that female angel. Okay, stop arguing. Is everyone here? Adel and Treat didn't arrive. Before the palace was destroyed, I saw Adel being penetrated by a sword, and Treat was also hit in the head. I said we shouldn't conflict with angel civilization. What should we do now? I feel like we are all going to die here today. The main god of civilization was covering the wound on his chest. His psychological defense had been defeated in the previous confrontation with Binghua. After all, he was almost split in half by the silver sword, including the weapon and body. Just as the six main gods were exchanging opinions with each other and discussing how to deal with the holy left wing of the angel civilization next, a humanoid object flew toward them at high speed, and finally hit the ground just a few steps away from them, splashing dirt all over them. When the dust was swept away, it turned out to be one of their companions, Trit, who was facing his head at the moment. It smashed into the ground, leaving only two legs still fluttering outside. The two who were close hurriedly stepped forward to pull their companions out of the ground, while the other gods raised their heads to look at the figure in the sky. "Since you want to play bombing, I won't play hand-to-hand with you. If you can take it next, you can live. If you can't take it, just stay here." After Binghua finished speaking, he no longer looked at the ground, but looked up at the sky. The wings behind his back quickly flapped, turning into a hazy light that broke through the atmosphere. It was only then that Binghua stopped climbing, took a brief look at the stars in the Comorn planetary system, calculated the distance, and slightly modified the energy formula, all of which was quickly completed within a second. The Great Judgment begins. Then Binghua pointed the tip of Qi Yuan's sword straight in the direction of his head and began to calculate the calculation formula of the Great Judgment. In an instant, the heat radiation from stars scattered in the vast universe began to gather towards Qi Yuan's sword tip at an alarming speed, and quickly turned into a sphere that radiated huge heat outwards. Immediately afterwards, the sphere began to shrink rapidly, and at the same time it began to converge its own light and heat. What finally appeared was a bright yellow sphere about half a meter in diameter, with a layer of light burning like a flame surging on its surface. Light code. Binghua also slashed the red abyss sword he was holding downward, and the flaming sphere like a miniature star quickly fell towards the surface of the planet. All this happened in just a few seconds. The main gods on the ground saw a sudden burst of dazzling light in the sky, as if a second star appeared. Then this small dot quickly converged its light and turned toward them. The position quickly fell. Just hearing a terrifying loud bang, a bright yellow fireball exploded in mid-air, quickly expanding into a fireball with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters, and it continued to expand. Any object on the ground was blown into pieces by the shock wave before it came into contact with the fireball, and was later overtaken and turned into ashes by the spreading firelight. Binghua was watching the clearly visible fireball and spreading firelight on the planet's surface from outside the atmosphere. Binghua was quite satisfied with the power of the great trial. After all, she had not accumulated energy for a long time. Binghua did not return to the surface to check whether those civilized gods were alive or dead, because it didn't matter to her. Anyway, the purpose of deterrence had been achieved, and if too many civilized gods were killed at once, it would inevitably be an indiscriminate killing of the angel civilization. Crime. The conflict between the holy left wing of the Comorn star angel and many civilized gods quickly spread. As many as 4 fallen civilized gods broke the record of the known universe for hundreds of years. As many as 8 civilized gods fought with the angel's holy left wing, and in the end 3 of them were killed, and the others were seriously injured. This is undoubtedly a very surprising thing. The true meaning of the matter was quickly learned by many civilizations. When they learned that the matter was originally caused by Moktan, the main god of civilization on Comorn, it turned out that the other 8 main gods of civilization came to help Chayu. They all feel worthless for those civilized gods. Angels are such noble existences. They are the most powerful civilization in the known universe. They don't come to provoke you, but you provoke them instead. This is not a matter of seeking death for your own longevity. The holy left wing's record of 1 against 8 made many civilizations feel astonished. It was finally clear that the main gods of civilizations were also divided into 3, 6, or 9 levels, and not all the main gods of civilization were equal. In this conflict, the civilization whose main god had fallen could only swallow the bitter pill secretly, without even mentioning going to the angel civilization for an explanation. Queen, you have become famous in the known universe recently. With 1 against 8, tisk, now the majesty of our angelic civilization has been demonstrated, and those so-called inferior gods should also stop. Ran's tone was very happy. As Binghua's most loyal follower, she would be happy as long as something good was done to the queen. These are all trivial and false names that are of no use at all. Tell me what happened to the so-called alliance of gods after that. Binghua Han didn't care, and calmly continued to read and process the valuable information uploaded to Merlot Heaven by the battle angels from various regions. Oh, that's it? The alliance of gods ceased to exist in name only shortly after we left the planet Comorn. However, in a small-scale conflict between Dexing and Noxing not long ago, a weapon that could cause huge trauma to super soldiers was used. Hearing this, Binghua paused while flipping through the information, slowly raised his head to look at Ran, and asked aloud. What weapon? It seems to be called a god-killing armor-piercing bullet. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 568. God-killing armor-piercing bullet. Seeing the confused look on his queen's face, Ran quickly called up a projection and found information about this in the intelligence summary. The God-killing armor-piercing bullet is a weapon developed by the Nyoxing God-killing weapon development team. It refers to the damage principle of the God-killing weapon to the divine body. It is currently equipped in the Nyoxing sharp knife troops. This is roughly the case with the Queen. Because Nyoxing keeps this kind of weapon very tight, we were not able to get a sample. However, according to the recent super soldier conflict between Nyoxing and Dexing, Nyoxing has always had a great advantage and the casualties of both parties can be seen. This weapon should have good damage to the first and second generation super soldiers. Hearing this, Binghua tapped her fingers on the table and began to think in her mind. Dino's arms race has already reached the stage of mass production of god-killing weapons. Although it can be concluded from Ran's words that the current weapon called god-killing armor-piercing bullets is still very low level in the sequence of god-killing weapons. But there is no guarantee that one day Nyoxing will create a god-killing armor-piercing bullet that can cause damage to the divine body, so the angel's armament should also be improved by at least one stage. It just so happened that her research on the indestructible Vajra divine body had also matured. Through the angel supergene data obtained from He-11, while weakening part of the strength of the Vajra indestructible divine body, Binghua successfully integrated the characteristics of this type of divine body into it. Among the characteristics of the angel's divine body. At the same time, Binghua also reversed the front-end technology of the Vajra indestructible divine body, which can specifically strengthen the body strength of second and third generation angels, making them indestructible to a certain extent. In addition, the Grand Judgment serves as the trump card for the angel team. Currently, the angel's single combat effectiveness is still in the first echelon of the known universe. Queen Kesha just sent a message asking you to go to the scientific research department. She said she has something important to discuss with you. Binghua nodded slightly at Ran to indicate that he understood, and then began to sort out the projection files in front of him, then stood up and left his office, going to the scientific research department. The usually busy scientific research department was unexpectedly quiet today. Binghua, led by Hexy's research assistant, did not see a single scientific research angel along the way. Hexy's assistant also stopped at the door of the research room and motioned for Binghua to go in, while she stood quietly at the door. It was obvious that the things in the research room were highly confidential. Binghua was just surprised for a moment before he stepped into the research room, and then the entrance to the research room was blocked by an energy barrier. Binghua, come here. Hexy waved towards Binghua to tell Binghua to stop standing there and come over quickly. You are driving away the scientific research angels in the development department, and you are also closing the door. What on earth is worthy of such a big battle? Binghua spoke curiously, and then followed Kesha's gaze and landed on a metal platform. At this moment, there was something on that platform being solidified in the air by the stasis field. It was a linear intersecting object glowing with golden light. Energy visible to the naked eye was surging in it, but there was no sign of violence at all. Instead, it gave Binghua an extremely stable feeling. This is the Angel's supergene, which can ignore slight physical differences and is a special model that can be used by any Kamigawa female. The disadvantage is that it will gradually change the body structure and appearance of the bearer, making it gradually move closer to the female angel of angelic civilization. Kesha saw that Binghua was focusing on this set of supergenes, so she explained aloud. Although there is no change in Binghua's face, her heart has already begun to turmoil. She can ignore slight physical differences and can be used by women with Kamigawa body. What kind of concept is this? It can also be transformed into a female angel. This is simply a different kind of biochemical virus. But soon He-11 made a sound and poured cold water on Binghua's head. Don't worry about being happy. It's not easy for races other than angels to become angels. It's equivalent to changing your body. Your pain at that moment is not something that a weak-willed person can bear. Therefore, the carriers of this group of supergenes need to be carefully selected and must be strong-willed people, otherwise it will be a waste. Hexi sat back on the seat and swung his arm slightly, his attitude seemed very casual. The serious look of Kesha and Binghua was very different. However, as a researcher of this group of supergenes, it is normal for He-11 to behave like this. Now that we have the results. Hexi, please find a way to mass-produce the supergenome as soon as possible. The Order of Justice will enter the next stage starting today, and we female angels will completely break away from our dependence on male angels. Kesha said this, which aroused Binghua's curiosity. Sister Kesha, when did you ask Sister Hexi to conduct this research? After hearing this, Kesha was also very interested in telling Binghua why she asked Hexi to initiate a research project on transforming angels. Since the last male angel king rebelled and was killed thousands of years ago, the male angels in the Merlot heaven have gradually chosen to leave. With the implementation of the Justice Order, I have this idea. However, the emergence of the Super Seminary and the establishment of the Power of Kamigawa project later made me see that things were turning around, so I asked He-11 to stop research in this area. But Binghua, you also know that the Super Seminary and the like are not reliable at all. I gave them the male angel genes when they asked for them, and they needed resources from us angels, and we also provided them. But now we angels have gained nothing, and people like Dacine have taken advantage of us. So I asked He-11 to restart research in this area. After saying this, Kesha turned around and looked at the light on the top of the research room, her tone suddenly became sad. Liang Bing is right about one thing. The Order of Justice will sooner or later become a burden to the angel civilization, and I know this too. It is a pity that she did not wait until this day. In the future, our angelic civilization will no longer have to worry about the survival of the race, because the female Kamigawa people within the entire Justice Order will be our reserve ethnic group. Binghua is also very happy. In this way, the population problem of angels will be greatly alleviated. Maybe the angel civilization will become more powerful and truly become an existence that is not afraid of any other advanced civilization. Sister Kesha, I also have good news. The indestructible divine body I researched has achieved results. It can directly add indestructible characteristics to the upgrade of the angel's divine body. Even ordinary angel warriors can possess some of these characteristics, which greatly increases the body's ability to resist strikes. Kesha's face showed a hint of joy when she heard this, and she praised. Thank you for your hard work, Binghua. Without you and He-11, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to support the angel civilization. Hexi was not surprised by this. She was indeed better than Binghua in terms of scientific research ability, but this did not mean that Binghua was not proficient in this area. If not, who created so many energy tactics and driving formulas? There is also the upgrade and development of the flaming sword, which is most important to the angels, and is almost always presided over by Binghua.